Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Sister Girl on IntellectualRadio.com. I'm here with Misha.
Hello.
And Leah.
Hey.
And we'll be discussing a few topics here. And let's start off with my topic. I want to talk about Black women being submissive. How do you ladies feel about that? I'll start with Leah.
Okay. I have mixed feelings. I do believe that part of the issue is not necessarily our desire to be submissive. I think it's more so we don't necessarily have working examples of how that's supposed to work. Like for some of us, we might feel like that means letting him drive your car. You know, he doesn't have a license. You know what I mean? Like we don't really have examples of give and takes and compromise to know when are you being submissive versus when are you just being an idiot. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Misha?
I believe that traditionally the submissive role has helped a household function, but as far as with Black women, there are so many different dynamics in our families that quote unquote submissiveness in some communities may not look the same in ours. So my mother definitely was a submissive person to my father, yet I saw some things in that didn't rest well with me. So I have mixed feelings as well. I'm pretty much a very egalitarian person in general. I like mutual respect. So
I feel like if I'm going to be submissive, you have to give me something to be submissive to. If you're the king, then you have to act like the king. If you're playing video games and don't have a job and don't do anything with your life, but you want dinner at 6, that don't match up to me. And I think that's the difference with us. I think that we don't have a problem with it. It's just you have to give us something to want to do towards it. I mean, everybody is different. And it's also, like Misha said, it's also what you grew up with, what you've seen, how you feel, how the man is. Some men are the submissive ones. I'm sorry. There's some men in relationships where it's like, okay, well, who wears the pants here? So, I mean, it just all depends on the individual. But I do think that with Black women, because we're so independent, that it is hard for us to say, okay, let you lead. I think because we see our mothers and we see our aunties and we see everyone that they take charge and they lead in the family, that it's hard to let a man lead. I think that is difficult for some Black women. I honestly believe that. What do you think, Misha?
well, I think sometimes too, we are running with this expectation that Black women are so confrontational in the first place. So, for instance, if you see someone maybe like a Latina, she's a fiery Latina, but she's not a disrespectful, woman who is trying to make her man feel effeminate or something like that. We can't be spicy without it being like, we won't submit. I believe you can submit to your relationship if that's what works for you and your mate and still have your own personality, your own voice. I don't think you have to negate who you are to submit. So what does submit really mean? That's what I'm wondering.
Leah?
Well, I think I agree with you, Misha, because I feel like that's what kind of is at play with my relationship. Like I am very much Leah, regardless of Michael's wife or whoever. Hey, babe. Regardless of all of that, like I am me, but that doesn't mean that I'm so caught up in holding on to my own identity that I don't recognize there are things that are my responsibility in our household. You know what I mean? Like I have no problem having dinner ready when he gets home. If it's not a day where I've worked a 16-hour shift. You know what I mean? Like you're going to wait on me to cook and I just feel like it's about balance. And I feel like that's what we struggle with because I could easily say, well, I work too. You cook for me. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we're both hungry at the end of the day. That doesn't help him. That doesn't help me. You got to balance it out. That's my thing.
This generation coming up, I don't think they even have a clue about what it means to be submissive, though, because they don't even respect their parents, let alone being able to respect someone in a relationship. So I think this generation coming up under us, they don't have a clue.
Well, I also feel like that has to do with our family structures. Like, are you considering whether or not they have a father and mother in the household? Are you considering what you're watching on TV? Because let's be realistic, the 18-year-olds now, their whole life is Love and Hip Hop and, Real Housewives of somewhere. That's not necessarily, I won't say a real life portrayal, but you can't relate to that. You don't live in a 6-bedroom mansion and your husband makes millions of dollars a year. Like, You can't do that. And even in that, it's not, I don't think it translates. And I don't think that we have a community. I don't feel like we have enough of an open dialogue as us to say, hey, okay, that's what she does. Does that mean it's going to work for you? You know?
I agree. But like when we grew up, we had different shows that we could watch. We had a different world, and we had the Cosby Show. So even though a lot of kids grew up on that, that was their father. Bill Cosby, you know, let's not talk about what he's done in his personal life, but Bill Cosby has raised a lot of Black America. Let's just keep it real. He still has. So I feel like in their relationship, you still saw Claire kind of submit, but she still was her own woman. So we did have that example. Now, like you said, they got Stevie and Jocelyn. Lord help us if that's all they can relate to. All they know is Instagram and Snapchat. They don't know the structure because there's no television. And unfortunately, that's the outlet. They don't see it. So even if it's not in your household, doesn't mean you can't mimic something, but you're mimicking what you see, which is throwing drinks, fighting. And don't get me wrong, I watch Ratchet TV, but at my age, I can know the difference. A 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, they don't know the difference. They think this is how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be half naked. This is the style. Our age, some of us can kind of distinguish between the two, but these kids growing up, they don't have that option unless they have it right in front of them in their household, watching it every day. And let's just be honest, a lot of families right now are different style families. They're not just mom, father, kid, and a dog, especially in the Black community. Let's just be honest. It's all different type of families. So I come from a household where I had a stepfather, you know, it's just all different types of families. So if you can't look at it at home, sometimes you have to look at other people's family and look different lifestyles to adjust to what you want. I feel that way too. What about you, Misha?
Ooh. I don't believe that we give young people enough credit. I believe we definitely should talk to them about the images that they see as far as male and female roles or whatever that means, because now that's a whole nother discussion, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman. But we need to have these conversations with them when they see things on TV like Love and Hip Hop, per se. What does it mean to be a man or woman from the neck up, per se? You know, depending upon what they're seeing. We don't watch a lot of Love and Hip Hop in my home. I have children. But they do come across some images that are questionable. And I ask them, so what do you think of that? How do you feel she's behaving? Is that how you want to behave? What do you think people are saying about her or him? And what does that mean? I really believe young people live up or down to the expectations that we set for them. And it's important to discuss with them what this image that is being shoved down their throat of what male and female Black, roles are, or masculinity and femininity are.
That's true. Do you feel like you should shield them from certain things? I mean, depending on what it is, or you're okay with them watching certain things and you just...
I believe there's definitely age appropriateness.
Right.
Right. I cannot control every image that's going to come to them, especially with the advent of the internet.
Exactly.
You can do your best, set up as many filters as you want. But when they do come across things, how open are we to discuss with them what we hold as what it means to be a man or a woman, or to submit or not to submit? And they're going to take that information and do with it what they will, but let's at least talk to them about it. But no, I do not believe they should see any and everything that crosses their path, but to the best of my ability, I try to be as age appropriate. My 15-year-old is not going to see the same thing that my 6-year-old, because she can't see what her big brother sees at this point in time.
And how do you feel about social media with them? Because the Snapchat and Instagrams are going to be coming. How do you feel about that? Would you monitor it? What would you do?
I do my best to monitor. I go through my son's phone, but as we know, they know technology way better than we do. Absolutely. I'm sure he can go in, clean up everything. I spend the extra money for the apps where I can see where he is and what he's been looking at and who he's been calling. It's very difficult being a parent in this age. But I think the biggest thing that I have to do is just keep the door open and talk to him.
Right. I thank God that we didn't have Facebook when I was in high school. Just want to point that out. I am so grateful that there's not a record of everything that we did in high school, because we would be in trouble. But no, like I said, my whole thing with the submissiveness is if you're going to be a king, that comes with a heavy load. You know how they say heavy is the head that wears the crown? And I think a lot of men want that respect, and a lot of men want us to do that. But what are you doing in the household, or what are you doing in this relationship for me to submit to? When queens submitted to kings, he run his kingdom. What are you doing to show me that you're the leader if you want me to follow you? I have to have something to follow, right, Leah? Right, Misha? I mean, a lot of guys want you, well, you know, they don't like I hear a lot of black guys say, your mouth. Well, what does that mean? My mouth. I can't have an opinion. I can't say anything. I can't challenge what you're saying if I feel like it's inappropriate for the household. Uh-oh, Leah gave me that look. Go ahead.
I was going to wait until you finish.
No, I'm just saying that I hear that a lot, because when I ask some African-American males, why do they prefer to date outside of their race, that's the first thing they say is our mouths. And I want to understand, what do you mean by my mouth? What are you saying?
My experience, I can't say all black women. Me personally, especially in undergrad, I'm so sorry to all the gentlemen who I heard in undergrad. But for me, my mouth was mostly, okay, if I feel a certain type of way, if you haven't any level offended me, then versus now, because it's been some years, I didn't necessarily know how to express, hey, this thing you did hurt my feelings.
Okay.
I do know how to curse you out. Mm-hmm. I do know how to hit below the belt. I do know how to fight unfair. So it was more a matter of the expression of, hey, this thing you did hurt me. And as a woman, especially for me, I grew up, I have a single mom, and it was, Misha touched on your expectations. I'm expected to be almost indestructible. You know what I mean? I'm expected to take a lick and keep on going. I'm expected to not be so caught up on this relationship or this thing that it hurts me.
Right.
So having those expectations, and then now you're in a position to where, hey, this hurts. Hey, I don't like this. I don't know how to say that I don't like this, because it was never expected that I'm able to communicate my feelings. I'm supposed to just be like, whatever. Oh, he did that, forget him, on to the next. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily healthy. Again, I'm sorry. But yeah, my mouth was basically, I don't know how to react to this. I don't have an adjustment period. I don't know how to express myself, but I'm going to go off. And if you offended me Tuesday at 3:01, Tuesday at 3:02, you're hearing about it. There's no, let me stop and think about how this might affect him. Let me stop and think about, is this going to affect our relationship later? Do I still like you after I say all these nasty, dirty, horrible things to you because I'm hurt? Because if so, now I'm making it hard for you to come back and be like, okay, babe, let's work on this. That was my experience.
Do you feel that was a learned behavior?
I do. I absolutely do. Not to, put my mother out, but my mom is very much, hey, you say something I don't like, I'm going to say something back that you don't like. Nobody's understanding what's happening. Nobody is communicating, hey, this is why I'm upset, or this is why I'm hurt. But you hurt me, I have to hurt you back. And I definitely feel like I adopted that, especially early 20s to late 20s. Like, no, you hurt me, I have to hurt you back.
So what do you do now differently when you about to, because I'm sure you still have had your moments where you.
Absolutely.
So what do you do now to kind of scale back? What is that one thing that you know to say or do to scale back from doing that?
I don't think it's necessarily a thing. It's more, for me, it's a thought process. Hey, after I say this, I can't take it back. If this were the other way around, and this person who I say that I love and I want to be with for the rest of my life, and we're going to start this family and build all these empires and all this wonderful stuff, if I tear you down, how can I then turn around and expect you to go back to being this wonderful man and this king in my household if I just talk to you like you were 2 inches tall? You know what I mean? For me, that kind of makes me go, okay, wait. Maybe I shouldn't say it this way. You know what? Maybe we shouldn't talk about it right now. If I'm not able to separate, I'm hurt, I'm angry, versus, hey, I didn't like this. You know what I mean? Let me take a step back. It's a thought process for me.
Right.
And it helps a lot. Right. I'm so proud, pat on my own back. Yes, I have come a long way.
Okay, Misha.
I absolutely agree 100%. A lot of times Black women are put into these boxes that we're the mad Black woman, we're the strong Black woman, or with the video vixen sex kitten Black woman. We don't get to be complex and layered and have our feelings. And yes, this hurt me. Like, to say that you're hurt is like some type of form of weakness sometimes. And that's not fair. It does not let you be a whole person. And I definitely understand. My mother was more a soft-spoken person, but the women who got what they wanted in my family were very direct, boisterous. I'm not taking no ish. I have one family member, sometimes I forget she has a husband. Like, he lives there, I still think. But she's so much of the powerhouse in the family, and she's highly effective. But the older I've gotten, I've started to pay attention to the nuances in relationships. And I wonder just how at peace she is and how much harmony is in her relationship, opposed to outright brute force of this is what I want, I'm going to get it, no matter who I mow over in the process. And I've done that. I definitely have a very strong opinion, and I would vacillate between being silent or being very angry, instead of just saying, hey, this really hurts me and I need to communicate that. So it's definitely learned experience. It's definitely taken over time to just separate yourself from a situation and go back to why that hurts you. What is this trigger in the little girl inside of me that I'm going to lash out to protect myself? And it's a lot of internal work. And I don't think we as Black women always have that room or quote unquote societal permission to do that work.
Why do you don't think we do?
Because of the expectations. You strong. You a strong Black. Somebody tell me I'm a strong Black woman one more time. When my mother died, people were telling me you're a strong Black woman. No, my mama died. These type of things, this expectation that we can carry the weight of the world, the weight of the race, all on our backs and still be strong and still have a meal ready at 6 o'clock. And that's the ideal Black woman. And that's crazy.
Now, by knowing your mother, she was soft-spoken, yes, but she got it done.
Yes, she did. She did. But then on the other side, I saw the emotional turmoil that took on her.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of times my mother kept it together to her own detriment at the end. She gave out so much of herself, there wasn't always enough left for her. Wow. And she didn't always have that outlet to go to my father or say that this hurt. But then I don't blame my father either, because of the things he's gone through, and the expectations put on him as a Black man. So I think our relationships and our communities need tremendous healing and tremendous acceptance of the suffering that we've both gone through, both genders have gone through.
I think especially with Black men, I think counseling is so necessary, but in the Black community it's so frowned upon because of, to piggyback on the statement that you made, we're supposed to be strong. Nothing's supposed to break us. And there are a lot of adult wounded kids walking around here that have had issues as children and still have issues, and they've grown up and they're taking it out on each other daily. And that's what we're taught. You're right, be a strong Black woman, but I don't feel like you should go to an entire race just because you don't want to deal with one aspect of somebody. If you're attracted to another race, that's fine. But if you're trying to escape something, a woman is a woman. So it might not happen in the same format as with a Black woman, but it could happen in a whole different type of format. So that's the thing that I want to touch on that bothers me, is when they say, well, it's your mouth. I still don't understand what you mean by that. You want to mute, or you want somebody that's silent? I don't get it. I understand that we do take it over the top, but I can have an opinion. I can have my side of what I feel is right. I can have, and there's a way about going about things, because sometimes it's the style that we have, and we can be a little aggressive, but I still think at the same time, that's not a reason to start dating a whole nother race just because of my mouth. And I know you're going to touch on that, Michelle.
Well, I believe the mouth is like a simple answer to go to. I don't think it deals with all of the layers in society that say, what does it mean to be successful? Does that mean having a white woman? Does that mean you escape, your Blackness? And what does that mean for you? Because some people feel that to be successful is to be as close to Caucasian in America as possible. And that might mean having a white woman. I don't know. I can't say. I personally have never dated outside of my race. I don't see that necessarily as a form of success or lack thereof. I mean, if I fall in love with somebody outside of my race, that's different, besides trying to run from my race through the people I date.
Exactly.
The mouth thing, in my opinion, everything that comes up does not have to come out. And it's not always what you say. Sometimes it's how you say it. And I've had to learn that. Let's say I have a message or a piece of paper to give you, and I shove it in your face. You're not even concerned about what that paper says at that point. You're like, hey, why are you attacking me? Opposed to, hey, can you read this? The delivery is going to impact how you receive the message. So you could be right. You can have your opinion, but how we deliver it is so huge.
I agree. How do you feel about that, Leah?
I agree. I absolutely agree. Your delivery. And sometimes it's not even how you say it. It's your body language before. Because I could walk up to you, muscles tense, eyebrows. You're gonna think that I'm ready to fight. It doesn't matter if when I get to you, I go, how you doing?
Right.
Like it's a lot of nonverbals that go into our communication that I really just feel like we don't talk about. We don't communicate. We don't, hey, I've learned this thing. Let me tell this young lady that's 10 years younger than me, hey, babe, you know what? You probably didn't have to say that. You probably should unclench your fists when you're approaching this. We don't, at least in my community, let me not be general, we don't have the let's pass this down so that you don't have to make these mistakes, so that our families aren't continuously impacted by lack of being able to express yourselves. Let's talk about it. Let's put it on the table. We don't do that. And to touch back on like our counseling. So I grew up in this really religious family where, if there's a problem, you take it to God. That's it. You talk about it in the house and you go pray about it. But to actually repeat, hey, something happened that affected me negatively. Oh no, that's absolutely taboo. You will not know. And now, because you're seeking this extra help, because you recognize that praying about it might not have completely eased everything you're going through. So you bury these issues and now they come back up and you're having the same conversation. Seeking help is a taboo. It makes you, this outcast because, oh my God, I can't believe you told family business like that. I cannot believe you. And I also feel like, again, back to our communication, we need to stop it. Like, okay, you prayed about it. It's still bothering you. Go ahead and make that phone call, even if it's not necessarily a licensed professional, although as a mental health professional, yes, get help if you need it. But maybe it's that one friend that lives 1,000 miles away and doesn't know anything about the people you're talking to. If you need that outlet, find it, use it. Like, don't feel bad for doing whatever you need to take care of yourself, because that also goes into why Black women are perceived as aggressive. We don't have outlets. For the most part, we are in our families. We are this wife. We are the mother. We are this faithful daughter. We are the sister that fixes everything. And when it comes time for us to be able to replenish ourselves, we don't have it. So yeah, I might blow up on my husband because I'm stressed out from being the wife and the mother and the sister and the daughter and the everything for everybody and not taking anything for me.
Why do you think it's hard for Black men to seek mental health?
Because the same stereotype, you're strong. You're supposed to be taking care of your family and you're supposed to, you're all these supposed to's rather than paying attention to what's necessary. Yes, I can put you into this box of the big strong guy who works hard so that we have a roof over our head and lights, but nowhere in there does anybody stop and ask the question, hey, how are you feeling? Feelings aren't equated to our Black men. We don't care about your feelings. We care about, do you have this check? We care about, do you have a car? We care about what kind of job do you have? And depending on the age of the Black woman asking these questions, do you have a 401k? Do you have a retirement plan? Do you have health insurance? Do you have life insurance? All the legalities are there. All the paperwork is there. All the whatever standard of measuring your success is there. But nobody stops and asks the question, how do you feel? Are you tired? Are you frustrated? Like, we don't ask these questions because we don't care. We don't. Until you're taught that, hey, in order for him to be all of these things, you first have to make sure he is mentally and emotionally capable of carrying all these responsibilities that we just expect him to be able to do.
That's true. That's very true. And then they're taught, be a man.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Without being a man being defined for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you feel about that, Misha?
I definitely believe our men lack the space to engage with their emotions without getting some type of backlash. Man up, suck it up. We teach them that from a very young age, don't cry. You're behaving like a little girl. Now, why? We'll get into like patriarchy and all that. So why being a girl is an insult? Well, I don't agree with that.
Like a weakness.
It's a weakness, right? But it's not. Where do they get the space? Where do they get the community to talk amongst themselves? Because as much as we as women like to co-facilitate our relationships and did you call so-and-so, keep the whole family together, where do men have the space to say, You know, when I was coming up, this wasn't right. Or when I was coming up, I felt this way. I don't know. I don't believe we as women can give that to them. I believe that's something they as men need to give themselves. But I don't know where do they get that from? I don't know, but it's needed.
But by you having sons,
Yes.
what do you do to give them that space to express themselves when they're going through certain things? Because like you said, you do have a teenager,
Yes.
so he's going through the motions.
Yes.
So what do you do to give him that outlet, knowing that Black men don't? What are you doing to give him that outlet? Maybe what you say could help other mothers out there. I know by you being a mom is difficult, but
Right.
what do you do to give him that outlet?
Well, I ask him how he feels. I said, what happened? Well, how do you feel about that?
Mm.
There are a lot of whys to go into the questions. How do you feel about these interactions you're having at school with other males, with other females? I ask a lot of feeling questions, and I think I get on their nerves from time to time because they don't want to talk about their feelings all the time. But I want them to know the door is open to talk to me about it, and I don't think any less of you if you shed a tear.
Okay.
If you feel frustrated, you're in that right. I like to honor that space, that you have a right to your feelings.
Absolutely.
And no one can take that from you. That is the one thing I try to do with them.
But when we were younger, I don't feel nobody really asked us how we felt.
My mother asked me how I felt.
My mom didn't ask me as openly. I just told her how I felt. That was my personality. I just said how I felt, but it was rare for someone to sit down and say, Talisha, how do you feel about this? Maybe it was my personality. You know, I don't have an aggressive personality at all, but maybe it was just my personality that I just said how I felt. And if something hurt me, I'm very sensitive. So if something bothers me, and I don't need any facial expressions from over here, but if something bothers me, when I was younger, I tend to wear it on my sleeve a lot. So as I got older, I did develop a shell because I felt like if I told you my personal business, you could try to use that against me. So, and Misha can attest to this, I get a shell, and I don't want to tell you anything that you can use as a weapon against me, but that's not healthy at the same time. If you're going to be in a relationship and if you're going to be in a friendship with somebody, that's not necessarily all the way healthy because you need to open up. But it's hard when you have had things that you've shared with people used against you. So I can see what you're saying with when you ask someone how they feel, they might not want to share it because they don't want it to make it seem like they're weak or that, you know, not you would do that because they're your children, but, you know, maybe they're friends. They don't want to tell their friends because I don't want that brought back up later on in a discussion that we're having. So I think with a lot of men, that's hard for them to be like, hey, bro, you know, she hurt my feelings. It's more of a, I moved on. I got a new girlfriend, you know, not dealing with their feelings and emotions. But we do it too. We do it too as Black women. I'm only going to speak for Black women because I'm a Black woman. But we do it too. We internalize a lot of things, and then it comes up to the wrong person. And it comes up at the wrong time because we don't deal with it. And we think just moving on will fix it. And it don't. It never fixes it. That's how I feel. But I'm going to take it over to Mike. Mike, have we got any questions on Facebook Live? No questions? Nobody saying nothing? Congratulations. I want you guys to ask questions. Don't just say congratulations. That's all they keep saying is congratulations. Great show. Oh, that's great. What I want a question. You guys can ask a question. We'll come back to Mike in a minute. And ask the questions. Okay. So let's switch topics. Leah.
My topic.
Your topic.
Okay. So 2 weeks ago in Chicago and other major cities around the United States, on the wake of our new president, there were women's marches, women's rallies, and we're standing in solidarity and all women united. But my question is, the movement, is that a women's thing, or do we have to delve a little bit deeper and begin to address issues that are related to Black women?
I believe the Women's March as a whole was nice. I believe solidarity among women is a step in the right direction. However, we cannot ignore the social and economic issues that are unique to Black women, to Latina women. I believe the women's movement lumps us together for lack of wanting to deal with those, intrinsic issues that are deep rooted. Because Black women's fight has not necessarily been the same as white women's fight. We've always worked outside the home, since time immemorial, so why it wasn't a fight to get a job for us. We had to have working in and out the home. So, but is there misogyny there? Is there things that all women face in a patriarchal system? Absolutely. I think it's past time for the issues and concerns of Black women and other women who are most of the time pushed to the margin to be heard and dealt with.
I totally agree. And I feel that I agree with Misha that you can't compare their issues with our issues. You just can't. There's just no comparison. I feel like she said, as women as a whole, yes, we deal with a lot, but we need to break this thing down a little bit more than just issues, because even growing up, the way they grow up and the way we grow up are two different ways we grow up. If you just want to be, I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but there are things that we see that they don't see, and there's things they experience that we don't experience. Like Misha said, Mama went to work. Mama didn't stay home till I went to college and and Dad went to work. Mama went to work, and sometimes she was the only one working. I mean, that's just the families that we saw. Now, there are certain African American families where the mom stays at home, but I'm just talking about in general. But like she said, it has to be broken down a little bit more than that. I agree with marches, but what are we gonna do after that? I'm glad we all got out and got some fresh exercise and we made our banners, and I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being honest. I agree with marches, and I think that they're great, but what are we going to do after we get done marching? You made your banner, you made your t-shirt, now what's next? And I think that a lot of people think because they got up at 6 o'clock that morning, they walked for an hour, that they did something. What did you do? What have you done? Where have you went to see what you can help with? Or have you went to see if there's something at your community that you can do? What else have you done than post on Facebook that you and your girlfriends got up and went for a walk? That's my issue with it. Go ahead.
I heard a young lady on a program I was watching, and she said, me as a Black woman, she said, my racism is sexualized. And she was like, and my misogyny is racialized. So therefore, we have these different lenses to look at it through, because during the push for equality during the civil rights movement, we were there to uplift the Black man and to push forward the Black man's agenda. And a lot of times, if we looked at our own issues as women within the Black community, we were considered betrayers of the race. So where do we find our spot and our voice and not be deemed as trying to annihilate the Black community on behalf of our gender? Or I don't know. That, to me, that's something that just runs really deep with me, and I have a lot of questions behind it. One book I read that totally changed my life was Labor of Love, Labor of Sorrow by Jacqueline Jones. Have you heard of it? Amazing text about how our struggle in this country has been completely different from any other women who have been here. And that's not to negate any other woman's story, but our story needs to be told and our issues need to be addressed.
How do you feel about that?
I'm absolutely in agreement with both of you. But for me, even if we don't necessarily talk about we don't have a place, I just found it funny for myself. Okay, we're watching this and CNN reports that all these women are joined together. And then on the ticker at the bottom, 53% of white women voted for Trump and believed in him. And 94% of people that look like me voted for Hillary.
I voted for Jill Stein.
I did. You wrote her in. But I mean, that to me, okay, on the wake of everything that's happening, even if we don't talk about our differences in race, okay, let's go to political. How can we then, okay, we didn't agree, this is the outcome, and now we're here, and we don't even address it. We just walk and put on the cute pink hats and take pictures and we're all united, but we're not. Because at the end of the day, you go back to your whatever neighborhood, I go to mine, and we're still at odds, even on the basis of political. Like, we don't agree. I don't even like you sometimes. I don't agree with the decisions that your president has made. You don't agree with the things that our guy did before he left office, and we're here. Like, I get that, okay, marches, yes, let's show it. But why? What did you talk about while you were there? Were there I didn't go, I had to work, but were there forums? Were there breakout sessions to try to address some of these? Or did we just hold up traffic and all put on pink and say yes? What was the point?
I feel like the marches now and the ones back during the civil rights movement are totally different. And I think that we're just trying to mimic that. Like, okay, if we go walk, it's going to make a difference. And in this day and age, it ain't going to do nothing. It's not. I mean, I'm glad that we're bringing it to light and bringing issues and having visuals and doing all of that. But I need to see some work behind these things. And that's what a lot of people, like she just said, we can stand here arm in arm. And then tomorrow at work, I don't like you and you don't like me. And you plotting on how to get my job. And I got the glass ceiling effect because I'm black and all this stuff like that. So let's make some moves here. That's all I want to say. If you're going to tell me to do this, I need some moves and action behind it. And a lot of people don't want to do that just so you can get a post on Facebook. No, that's not good enough for me. Back then, when they marched, they did something. We march, we do nothing. So you wasted all this money on these water bottles and these towels. I'm just saying, I'm being honest. Leah, I'm just being honest, right? And what do these young people do after that? Are they going into their community and helping out children that don't have parents, or going to spend a couple hours with somebody and play basketball with them? It's the small little things that I want to know. What are you doing to help the community? Because going for a walk is not sufficient to me.
Well, I believe there are people who are doing things. I don't want to negate a whole generation and say that they aren't doing things. There are some who are willing to put, their life on the line, their money where their mouth is. I think the difference between the 60s and now, or 70s and now, is there was a little bit more coordination. The boycotting. Nobody really cares what you say. They care where you spend at the end of the day. So if we're spending money with people or systems that work against our own best interests, we could march, like you said, till we're blue in the face. And when we buy, pink towels from corporations that don't like you, you just help them. So that was nice that you marched, but nobody really cares. And then, as you were saying, 53% of people, women, put this person in the office who blatantly says he grabbed people by the vagina. When you vote against your own interests, but you're not really voting against your own interests because your complexion, you're voting for your complexion, not your gender. So
I love how you said this person. I enjoyed that.
I really try not to talk about that right now.
I don't have a president. Let's not talk about that. Let's not get emotional
right
here, because we'll get I don't want you to get started either, Leah. Let's not get started. But that's a perfect point, because if we had just marched instead of boycotting the buses, we'd still be sitting in the back of the buses. You have to hit them where the money is. And I'm not saying that nobody at these marches does anything. I'm just saying the majority of them, I don't feel do anything outside of it. There are those people that are, and there are those people that just are going for a show. And that's just how I feel. But that's my personal opinion. I'm not saying that that's true, but I know a lot of people that say, okay, what are you doing? What do you mean? I went for a march. I went walking. Okay. Now what?
I believe we're comfortably complacent in a lot of things because what our ancestors or the generation before us dealt with was so harsh. They were willing to make certain sacrifices for the community because their day-to-day was just far. We are lulled to sleep. We're entertained to sleep. We might have certain struggles, but in a lot of ways, we're very comfortable as women and as Black people.
Example.
So, for instance, I'm trying to think of an example. When you're stressed out and you want to escape something, we might watch mass amounts of reality television as a way to deaden ourselves to what's really going on in our community and the realities that we live with. Like, we're very isolated. Remember, we used to be more communal people pre-desegregation. I don't call it integration. It was simply desegregation. It was, because we've never been economically integrated into this country on a mass level.
That's true.
But
I just never.
I'm sorry. So we stay in our house, our condo, or whatever,
right?
And we numb ourselves with entertainment, with quote unquote certain luxuries. So we don't feel like that discomfort, that pain that those before us felt in such an acute way. It's still there though.
It is still there. How do you feel about that, Leah?
I agree. To touch on the more communal, do you believe, well, this is for both of you, that we've simply gotten comfortable with just social media? You know what I mean? Like, I can say all day, and this is actually like a personal experience of a very close friend of mine. Like, you're very active, you know, you take pictures, and I'm bowling, I'm this, I'm that. I don't know legitimately how you are mentally, but because I see you, because on here you appear to be okay. It's like, oh, all right, he's fine. And then you get a phone call at 3 a.m. Oh, so-and-so killed himself. What? Well, he was just, you know, kicking it. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
He was just doing whatever. And I feel like and I'm guilty of it too, we don't take the time to, you know, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. Let me pop up. What's going on? How are you doing? And I know people like my mom's friend, you know, and it's a different generation. If they haven't seen her, if they haven't touched base, somebody is at the house. I'm not going to give you a chance to ignore me. I'm not going to give you a chance to mask what you're going through. Let me see you face to face. And I don't feel like we do that. And a lot of our communal sense is lost because we're stuck on what we see on social media. We're stuck on the faces that we present to the world rather than what's really going on behind closed doors. And we have to deal with it. I can't say you're my sister and I love you, but the only time I really check up on you is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you know, your memes.
I feel like this is the worst time we feel like we're connected, but we're not connected at all. And the images that you put on social media, you don't want to get her started. It's so deceiving because you only want to show me the good. You only want to show me, you know, that y'all out doing this and you're just out to do that. But then I know you personally, and I know what he's doing to you behind closed doors. When I go on Facebook, you know, you got the candlelight dinner and the bubble bath, and you know, it's just perfect. I'm not trying to be funny, y'all. I'm being completely honest with you. And like you said, there's people killing themselves on Facebook Live. You know, there's the bullying and the comments and everything that gets into your heart, that gets inside of you. And I think you have to be very cautious of what you put on there, and you have to also shield what you put on there. Everybody don't need to know everything. Everybody don't need to see, know you've been to a taco. Everybody don't need to see or know everything. And if I'm your friend and the only time you check up on me on Facebook is we're gonna have a problem. If the only time I talk to Misha is on Facebook, we're gonna have a problem. And that's what I think. I think that's what we think everything's okay. Leah doing fine. Her and her husband was at bowling. They doing fine. But have you texted Leah? Have you called her? Have you seen how she's doing? Next thing you know, something done happened. Not to say nothing over you. I'm just saying in general that we go to that. We check on that. We'll check on Facebook before we'll reach out and call somebody. So I agree with her on that. It's horrible. It's really horrible. Well, go ahead, Misha.
Oh, the Facebook fantasy is real. You know,
I told you, don't get started.
It's real. We put forth lies that we want people to believe that we're having because we're comparing our lives to what we're seeing on other people's Facebook and Instagram accounts. And I barely know how to work Snapchat, but
you have a Snapchat?
I do.
I'm shocked.
I
don't have a Snapchat.
Well, my nephews and children play with it.
Okay.
I'm on there, I guess, but
we grannies of Snapchat.
Exactly. So we put forth these images and we want to look a certain way. We put forth the vacation, but we don't put forth the bill after, you know, my children are doing great. They're doing so. JoJo is failing out of high school. Stop playing. But we don't want to do as the true Hollywood story of our lives. Nobody wants to show the ugly part of it.
There are some people that will show both sides.
I suppose they will.
There are some people that will show both sides. I don't want to see that either. I don't. I sometimes just have to log out and just be like, okay.
What do you think the purpose of social media really is then? If you don't want to see the good, if you don't want to see everybody's mess, then what is the great functional part? I believe it's good to catch up.
Believe it. I like it for the fun part of it and connecting, and I think it's great for businesses. I'm using it now for my radio show. I think it's great, but then I think it's a dark side to it. And I think that these kids, If I had a child right now, I wouldn't even let them have a computer in their room. They're staying up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, reading these negative comments and hanging themselves. Like, there's a dark side to it. And there's a lot of people that are behind these pictures that are bullying them, and they don't know anything else. Little kids nowadays, all they know is iPads, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. That's all they know. So guess what? That's their world. So if they're feeding into it day and night, it's affecting them. Me and you can just deactivate and say whatever, but to them, that's their world. What do they talk about when they go to school next day? Girl, did you see such and such on Snapchat? They don't know anything else. So unless they know how to filter it, I believe they're gonna fall victim to it. I really do. And that's why if I did have a child, I'm gonna be on everything. I might not like nothing or comment, but I'm following you on everything. And I'm watching everything, because it's that one comment or that one situation that could be fatal. And let's just be honest, look how many people have committed suicide. And guess what? It started from them constantly on Facebook, constantly reading it, constantly listening to it. So I think it's a great outlet, but I think it has to be controlled and monitored even as adults. Because we'll get into it. You've told me before, and I've told you, I'll start on there at 11 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm still on Facebook. What am I doing? That's a lot of time that I could be doing something else on Facebook. But you get so involved and going to people's pages and stuff that you forget that you've been online for 3 hours.
I ended up on people like, how did I get to this person's page? It starts like, I don't know, Sharon's cousin's brother.
Right, and I'm on here for 30 minutes looking at everything on their page. Yeah. But I know you like Facebook, Leah. You do. You do. Misha.
I'm not on Facebook right now. I've been on Facebook for about 4 months.
I know, but would you come back?
Like business purposes.
That's it.
I would come back. I go on Instagram sporadically just to see how. I love seeing how people's children are doing. Like, I like the baby pictures. I like people's vacations. I like to see where you went. Oh, Jamaica's great. Right. There, like you said, there is the good part about it. I think sometimes our mind just gets wrapped around thinking that's all that it is. So
by you having children, you're gonna have to really try to control that.
I do my best. Nobody's allowed to have a Facebook page at this point, but they say Facebook's for old people. That's what they say.
So we're old?
Yes.
Okay.
According to them, by their standards.
Right.
But my youngest child, like, her first, she'll meet you. She'll be like, how you doing? Can I see your phone? Like, she wants to play games. Like, nice.
Who are we talking about? Salim? Oh, yes. Yes. And we went out to, I had to bring up this story. Yeah. We went out to Fridays, TGI Fridays, me and Misha and the girls, just her daughters. And we said we were going to do a phone-free lunch, right? Everybody had to take their phones off. She couldn't have her tablet. And do you know she told us she was bored? Mm-hmm. I was like, she's 5. She was 5 at the time, I think. I'm like, you can't have a decent conversation? No, I'm bored. And that's just, and the waiter was like, y'all don't have y'all phones out? No, we're going to actually sit here and talk to each other. And I think nowadays, that's hard for kids to do. And it's sad.
They've grown up with it. They instinctively know how to work these devices.
Yeah.
We had to learn. I mean, this is their world. Like, and I don't know. And it's stressful raising children in this generation.
But I want them to go outside and jump a rope.
They can do that too.
Basketball.
I mean, I have one. He'll try to dribble and look at his cousin's YouTube stream at the same time. He's like, all right, record me.
Right. It's still right. I think we're not going to get away from social media in no form or fashion. But I think that it can cause problems. I do. I believe it. And I think it can cause problems in relationships too.
That's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother show. We might have might have to trickle that over to next week. That's a whole nother show. Do we have any questions, Mike, before we go?
No questions.
Just still saying congratulations.
No, this is from D. Marie. She said, "Bravo, ladies. No questions to ask, but I just want to say thank you for your sharing your insight and creating a dialogue to better ourselves and those around us."
Oh, thank you. That was nice.
Very kind.
That was very nice.
We totally left the subject of women.
We talked about it.
It's related.
Yeah, it's somehow, somewhere.
I don't even know how did we get on the social media question?
She brought up community, and I was saying that we don't have that because of social media. We don't check on our.
Oh, and then we just went.
We just check their pages.
Okay.
Now we're here.
Okay. All right. Well, great show, ladies. Thank you, Misha. Thank you, Leah. If you want to be sponsored on my show or you have any music you want to be played, please inbox me. And coming up next, we have He Said, She Said with Wanda. Thanks for tuning in to Sister Girl on IntellectualRadio.com. You guys have a great Sunday.